Hey guys, welcome to the party. We are the Weekend Rockstars, your weekly podcast for all your tips, tricks and licks you need for getting started in the music scene. I am Scott Freeman, and with me as always is Billy, wearing shorts. Deadman.
I am wearing shorts.
I'm trying to think of an interesting thing to put in the gap between your names each week, but I'm failing.
It's an interesting fact. They are Adidas shorts. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we got Billy in the studio as always, but we have a guest. We have a guest here at the studio, introducing to the Weekend Rockstars podcast, Mr. Tom Ridler.
Howdy.
Hey, cool. So I've known Tom since I was going back to
15, 16?
I was 14 or 15,
Yeah.
I think.
It's been a minute.
So we were in year 10 at the time, and yeah, we met, and we're both musicians. We got in a band, and shortly after, and we've played tons of gigs together across several different bands, and still making music today. Before we were doing the podcast today, we were jamming out something new, weren't we? It was pretty cool.
Sounding bouncy.
Sounding good, yeah.
Bouncy bass lines.
Yeah, Tom's sort of, you'd say you're primarily a bassist.
I'm a bass player, yeah.
Bass player, but you dabble in other things pretty well.
I dabble a bit. I'll pick up just about anything with strings on.
Yeah.
And when I'm not doing that, I spend most of my time climbing up the gnarly side of a rock face.
That's it, yeah. So Tom's a climber. Is that the appropriate term? Okay. A climber?
I suppose a rock climber or a climber.
Yeah.
You can go with either or.
Yeah.
Either of those things are good. Stone Monkey.
Stone Monkey. That's the name of our next band, the Stone Monkeys.
Cool.
That's cool, yeah. So how do you get into that?
Mostly by accident.
By accident.
Actually, I was walking through the shopping centre in Staines, and there was a temporary rock climbing wall up, and I looked at it and I thought, hey, I did that when I was a kid and I really enjoyed it. And kind of stored that thought in the back of my mind for maybe a year or so.
Yeah.
Until I started working at Tesco's and mentioned the idea to somebody on my department, and he was like, "Oh, I climb. Come with me." I went down there with him, just did a session of climbing, and I got home, and my forearms, particularly from like gripping onto stuff, were just ruined. I was trying to hold a knife and fork to eat my dinner, and it was just, I felt not capable.
Yeah.
And I sat there and thought, well, I'm going to have to get used to this, because this is my life now.
Yeah.
It was instantly grabbed me.
Yeah.
There was something,
instant passion.
Yeah, something about it that just got its hooks in me straight away. And
yeah.
Now I'm training to be an instructor, so
That's
it
awesome.
really is going to be my life.
Yeah. See, that's me at the moment after I've played like a really intense like session of Horizon Zero Dawn on PS4. I've just got claws afterwards. I'm just walking around like a T-Rex.
I got back. I was really into Rocket League at the time, and I got back from a couple of sessions, and I was like trying to play with my mate over the internet. I was like, dude, my hands hurt too much. I can't actually hold the controller. We're going to have to postpone the session.
Yeah, yeah.
I was saying to Tom before how I've only been rock climbing once.
Yeah.
But I was one of those people that he sees daily that get to the top and then just freezes.
Yeah.
Can't go back down again because it's too high up.
You don't want to let go. It's a huge, it's definitely an instinct.
Yeah.
Like you get to the top of something and the guy at the bottom goes, just let go. And you're like,
no.
Just let go?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That was me.
I definitely sympathise with it. Like, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah,
a lot of sense. Maybe I'll take you guys.
Yeah, I did
that
it
would
once.
Be a laugh.
I did it once in Greece.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I was 12, I believe. It was sort of the summer holidays, and we went to Greece, and there was like a rock climbing thing, and if you climbed to the top, you won a free bottle of wine, and I won the free bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was 12, so I wasn't allowed to drink it, but. But yeah, I succeeded. There you go. So we'd love to do it again one day.
The offer is open.
The offer's open. I can still become a stone monkey.
Yeah.
Anywho, so today we're going to get into the subject of gigging during coronavirus. So one of our earlier topics was talking about how do you get started with gigs? How do you book gigs? And yeah, it's an odd time for gigging at the moment because coronavirus is happening. As we're recording this is, the beginning of August 2020. And so we're in a weird time where things are slowly starting to open up, but the world's still in this strange stasis point. And, the phrase second wave, is one we probably hear every day, if not weekly,
Hashtag new normal.
Yeah.
Oh,
hashtag
please.
new normal. Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, we're allowed to the pub,
Yeah.
but you have to sit down and stay on your table,
Mm.
basically. This is where you are, and you can stay there now.
Yeah, it's bizarre, man. And so I actually got to play my first gig in 4.5 months or so.
Yeah.
The other week, it was at a venue called the Winchester Gate in Salisbury. It's a venue I've played a lot. I'm quite friendly with the guy who runs it. Always love playing there. Always a great crowd. Always a great vibe. People sing along, that kind of thing. And I always get a free cider, so bonus. I played there the other week. It was sort of a very last minute thing, and I'm driving down, and it's in the back garden with a little marquee, and I get to Fleet. They're turning for Fleet on the M3, and it starts raining, and I'm like, no. I was like, it's outside. If it rains, I'll get cancelled. So I pulled into Fleet Services, just depressed, like texting Rob, the guy who owns the place, and saying, hey man, like, is it called off? Should I turn around? Because I've still got another hour to drive to get there. But he says, nah, we're all cool here, bro. So I get there, and it's cloudy the whole time. I'm thinking it's going to rain as soon as I play the first chord. It's just something bad's going to happen. But thankfully, it didn't, and I got to play, and it was like nothing had changed. Like, it was like I was back to my normal,
Except everyone's stuck at their tables. No one was wearing a mask, so that was nice. We kind of got to, like, that bubble, that back garden for the couple of hours that the gig was going on. We just got to forget about everything. I don't know if that's the same at all these sort of back garden gigs that are going on at the moment. But yeah, it was really nice, and I was talking to a few people afterwards, from 2 meters away, and
roughly 2 meters,
and they were saying, oh man, like, thank you, like, that helped me feel like I had some normality back, for these people that love going out to gigs. So that was good. That was a good feeling, But is this the new normal, like backyard gigs? Is that attractive to musicians, or is it kind of too informal?
It definitely feels like that's the only way anyone can gig at the moment, obviously, because I mean, we saw in the news like last week that they did this government approved trial gig.
Yeah.
At was it what venue was it? I think it was at I want to say the Astoria, but that doesn't sound
It was one
right.
of the London ones, right?
The Apollo.
The Astoria's been closed.
That's right. The Astoria closed down ages ago.
Yeah.
Big Avenue.
I'm pretty sure if it was still open, that floor would have fallen through by now. But I really distinctly remember going to watch Paramore there.
Yeah.
And like, as everyone was jumping, the floor was really, like, I swear about, there's a good 4 inches give in that. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Loved it as a venue though. So
Yeah.
good.
That's a cool venue. Yeah. So yes, they did a trial.
The Clapham Grand.
The Clapham Grand.
I
okay.
totally wrong. I don't know where I got this story in my head from. That's really
Okay.
dumb. So they did this trial gig at the Clapham Grand where they had like literally 10% of their capacity was allowed to actually go to the venue, and they all had to be sat down at tables at what's normally like a proper venue
Stand
where
up
everyone
and
stand up and jump and mosh and stuff.
Yeah.
And so and then surprise, it turns out that this trial was a complete failure. The venue made no money. They made a total loss.
Yeah.
Because, it's not surprising when you got 10% of your capacity filling the venue, and they can only get drinks ordered to their table and all that. And it's like, well, what's the point then? Like, you can't gig properly in that regard. You can only gig outside where everyone's sat at tables distance.
To be honest, the idea of gigs being largely outdoors really appeals to me.
Yeah.
And my sensibilities as a person, I love being outside, and there's something really nice. As long as the weather is somewhere between great and reasonable, like, I mean, even I've been at some festivals where it's poured with rain the entire weekend, and there's like 50% of the attendees that don't give a crap. Girls walking around in bikinis, barefoot, covered up to their necks in mud with a can of Strongbow in each hand.
That's a good time.
Yeah, like that's it. Like you clearly are enjoying yourself despite all of this. But it's that.
The problem is, like, that's only going to last like another 2 months, 2 or 3 months maybe.
And it's going to get really cold.
It's going to get colder. I've actually, the band can't announce it yet, but likely if the gig happens, and playing at Butlands in January, and I saw the latest there that they've built a massive stage for outside. I'm like, well, am I playing this gig outside in January? Like, am I going to have to wear like 3 coats to survive the extreme weather of doing it on the coast of Britain? Like,
just do a Liam Gallagher and get a giant parka.
Come and see me at my work.
I
sell outdoor gear for a living, and we'll kit you out.
Yeah, get me like Eskimoed out, like
full on mountaineering gear.
and for like the crowd, they're gonna have to like wear all their warmers as well, hot water bottle down the jacket probably, and all that. You know?
And you're gonna want to mosh just to keep warm to get that blood flowing, right?
So it's just, I guess it's a weird one. I don't. How are they going to figure this out, really? Because like, if it is only gigging outdoors, there's not many opportunities for it past the summer, really.
No, not so much.
Yeah. I mean, here's a controversial thought.
Okay.
So I'm suggesting this. I'm posing it. I don't necessarily believe this is the right way to do it, but obviously, people of a certain age are more vulnerable to the coronavirus. And so they've seen that people of younger age groups, are more resilient to it.
Yeah, they can survive
a lot more.
A lot more, yeah.
The survival rate's higher, basically.
Yeah. So now, I don't want to discriminate at all against older people, but could you have gigs as per normal without social distancing and open up these venues if there's a sort of age limit? So you have younger people congregate together. I mean, obviously there's transmission issues.
Yeah, because like if people get asymptomatic. I get all my words mixed up. I swear.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's what
it's
an
unusual word, to be fair.
Yeah.
If you're that, you won't even get like symptoms, but you'll give it to your grandparents if you happen to see them or whatever in it. So that's the issue there, I think.
But I kind of agree, actually, with Scott's idea. I think that is what we should do. I think that maybe even a step further than that is to just start these things up and not necessarily put an age limit on it, but just look, here's this thing. If you feel comfortable with it, go for it.
Yeah.
If you don't, feel free to lock yourself in your house and hide away. Or I mean, that sounds a bit harsh. Like, I'm not saying that the people who are concerned are chicken or anything like that. Like, it's clearly there's some things to be concerned about in this world, coronavirus or otherwise.
Yes.
But if it were up to me, I mean, there's a story my friend Jess told me. She works in the chocolate shop, and she had a regular. I want to say her name was Doris, but it's this. Probably not. There's this little old lady. She was 90-something. She'd lived through 2 world wars.
Wow.
And she was sassy as heck, like it's like Cockney accent. And she, just before the lockdown started, came into the shop, completely ignoring all of the everything guidelines and just going, all of this stuff is just a bit of a pain, isn't it, Jess? It's and you think, yeah, she's like 90-something. It's probably going to kill her if she gets it, but also if she doesn't care, then who are we to tell her that she has to care?
That's very true. Like there's a certain element of like taking responsibility for one's own actions, but I guess it is the case, like I said before, like if you could pass it on to someone unknowingly, that's the problem, isn't it? I think
It is.
Because like someone who doesn't want to catch it, but then gets it from some mouth breathing, like no mask,
not mask ignoring,
dick. Like I don't know. It's
but
it's
if
hard
you're
one.
really that desperate not to catch it, would you be somewhere and in a position to?
There's that element as well, I guess. But like, it's tricky, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's super hard.
It's a grey area.
Like, I don't want.
It's a tricky area, and as I say, I'm not advocating for either side of that argument, but there is a level of I've been locked up for months, not been able to gig, not been able to do the thing that gives me life.
I haven't even gigged.
Yeah, you haven't even gigged, man.
I did a live stream.
Yeah,
that's like another way that I guess people can gig is do the live stream gig, but
it's not.
It's not the same, is it?
It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun and quirky in that people can comment and it's
do the
its
clap
own,
emoji.
clap emoji. Yeah, it's its own interesting dynamic that has its place and will definitely grow and expand even more as it has throughout coronavirus. But it just doesn't replace the heat and the passion and the energy and the sweatiness of a gig.
No, there is a real transfer of energy between human beings in a shared space, isn't there?
Yeah,
and you can't recreate that through the internet.
Yeah.
And I mean, even I'm back at work and I'm wearing a face shield.
Yeah.
Even that gets in the way of it.
Yeah.
Like it really, it's a physical barrier between you and somebody else, and it's difficult. It makes things hard. Or the masks, even.
Yeah.
Like you can't really hear people properly. You can't see if they're smiling. Like I've realised, I'm always like I've got mine up to my nose, and I'm like walking around in a supermarket, and I smile at people that I walk past, and I'm smiling at them, and they're looking at me funny. I'm like, oh, they can't see that I'm smiling at them.
I constantly feel like I'm about to rob the place.
I said
I'm wearing my mask.
I said that to a lady behind the till in just a little shop in little village shop. I was like, if I'd come in here like this before Corona, would you have thought you were about to be robbed? And she looked at me up and down and went, yeah. Probably.
Yeah. Funny thing, in Winchester, we have a large sort of like kind of Asian community, and they're sort of like late teens, early 20s, uni age. And at sort of the art school, and they're always walking around pre-corona wearing face masks. And I always thought, oh, that's a bit extreme. I never in 1,000 years would have ever thought we're all going to be doing that pretty soon. It's just
I mean, they had SARS, didn't they?
They had SARS, yeah.
And then I think also like a lot of Chinese people just wear them because there's so much pollution in China.
That's
that
also
kind of two kind of things. But yeah, it is strange.
It's strange, yeah.
So I've posed this question to you both. Do we have to wait for the vaccine, or like, so obviously they're trying to make a vaccine. Russia reckons they're going to have a vaccine out by October. They're rushing it out.
They're rushing around. Just putting it out there.
Snap.
But
Boris reckons we're going to have a vaccine for Christmas.
Yeah.
I
don't believe anything that man says.
So
I don't believe anything any of them say.
Exactly. So this is the thing, like obviously the ideal solution would be vaccine. Everyone gets vaccinated, and it's all gone. Hooray! We've defeated coronavirus as humanity. Or is the more likely scenario that over time we all just kind of treat it like the flu, but a more deadly flu, but we just have to get on with it.
We just have to get on with it.
Yeah.
Because we do eventually just have to get on with it.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, eventually. I mean, that's why we've been coming out of lockdown really since sort of like mid-May, kind of early June, when people were allowed to go back to work. Because they're trying to save the economy. And like how
save capitalism.
That's true. Yeah. Yes. So as we've been trying to bring the economy back on track, I mean, is it just gonna? Are we just endangering lives there? I mean, what's going on there? I mean, is the economy going to get such a bad state that we just go, screw it, we just have to go back to normal, and then we can gig again? But are we all going to feel really guilty because we're like, well, anyone could die coming to one of my gigs just by breathing,
But wasn't that maybe not to the same degree, but wasn't that kind of true before?
With
in
what?
what
With
way?
flu or with?
With flu, with
anything, I
maybe
guess, or-
any old
yeah.
disease, or like the possibility of
Getting trampled by all my fans.
crossing the road on
Yeah.
the way to the gig and getting hit by a car. You
Yeah.
know, yes, there's a risk, but there is a risk inherent in everything. I spend a lot of time walking around barefoot.
Yeah.
This is right. Yeah, I don't really like shoes very much. I mean, there's a time and a place.
Bushman.
But a guy walked past me earlier and he went, "You're taking a bit of a risk there, mate." I was like, "Yeah, I know." Just
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I know I'm taking a risk. You know, there's glass on the floor, there's dog poop, there's might be a hypodermic needle that a drug addict's chucked away somewhere, but honestly I feel I'm quite alright with the amount of risk and the amount of percentage coverage of glass versus safe stepping zones. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, aren't I? But the point there is always going to be a risk inherent in being alive, and that risk is that you might one day cease to be, or you will actually one day cease to be for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I mean,
YOLO.
yeah. I mean, be careful enough, but not so careful that you don't get to live.
Yeah, because I mean, during quarantine, we've seen sort of illegal raves popping up all over the country, sort of harkening back to like the late 80s, early 90s kind of rave scene, you know, and seen all sorts of scenes on the news. That was a lot of scene.
There's scene.
There's been scenes on the news of people doing raves, under dual carriageways and all sorts of weird
Not even
places.
just that though, like just going like the crowds at the beaches.
Oh yeah.
The crowds for the Black Lives Matters protests.
Yeah.
All these crowd stuff, and you just think to yourself, well, why can't we gig, man? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like everyone else is
maybe-
doing all these things that is possibly going to like extend lockdown or restrictions further.
Yeah.
Because the government wants everyone to be safe or whatever, And it's like, well, if they're doing that, why can't I do this?
Well, I mean, there's always the answer that you could have done.
That's
You
true
could have
as
set
well,
up your own. You could have set up your own little guerrilla situation and done it anyway. I'm sure plenty of people did.
But there's definitely, I mean, America where they basically had no restrictions at all in some places. I've seen on the news, on the internet that there's been bands that have just outright had gigs, like proper gigs with no social distancing, and they just like the virus is fake, So.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
Is the virus
not a great
fake?
attitude to have.
I don't necessarily think it's fake.
Yeah.
It's all a conspiracy.
I know people that have had it. I think our reaction to it might, like, personally, I do think our reaction to it has been over the top and like basically bullshit. But the virus itself is around. It's there. It exists. It's not.
Yeah.
Come on now, you anti-vaxxer, flat earther weirdos. Like, it's real. Maybe we're just overreacting, but it is real.
Yeah. So I mean, how does it end? Does it end with everyone just going, right, it's a risk, we got to go outside and go back to life as normal, and you could get COVID and die, but it's just another risk we got to take, like you could catch the flu. Is it going to go back to that and everyone just taking a stand? Will the government tell us that? Or
Mate, I don't think they will. I've more or less already done it. I my climbing centre, like my indoor climbing gym, reopened recently, and I pretty much walked in there, and the first friend of mine I saw, I said, obviously there's a sign on the door that says please maintain social distancing. The first good friend of mine I saw in there that I haven't seen for 5 months, I said, hug me, bro. And we hugged, because you kind of can't fight that instinct in the end, to be close to the people you care about. And I think that is, it ends with us just going, man, I can't anymore.
It's kind of, if you think back to the parallels of the Spanish flu, which is the last global pandemic,
big one, almost literally 100 years ago.
I mean, I'm not entirely well researched enough on how that ended, but I feel like didn't just people just get on with it? Like, I feel like, and over time the flu that particular strain of the flu just got weaker over time.
Yeah.
So maybe that will happen with coronavirus. I don't know. I'm no
not a
scientist.
doctor.
Yeah, but
I'm not
I'm not a pathologist.
I did watch some video essays on YouTube a couple of days ago talking about the Spanish flu and people's attitude to masks there. And,
It's the same thing.
and it was people hated it then and were like distorting their masks and doing all the stuff that's happening now, cutting holes in them for pipes and the cigars and stuff.
I was thinking about that the other day. Like, there's definitely someone somewhere that just put a little like hole in so they can have a fag. Or like, I thought if you made one like yourself with the folds in, you could have it so that underneath your nose was actually like a hole, and no one could see it because it was in the little folds, and then you would be able to breathe, and no one would think you were an asshole.
Yeah.
You know what, as well though, that thing about that parallel, a lot of I feel like the second wave stuff comes from the fact that the second wave of the Spanish flu was way deadlier than the first wave.
Yes.
And I think that is, I mean, we probably should be a bit worried about it if it is the same as the Spanish flu second wave, because that was really messed up. And what it did was it caused younger people to die because their immune system attacked it way stronger. Than you get, well, I can't remember what it's called, but you end up like killing yourself. Your own immune system kills yourself, basically.
Yeah. So, I mean, are they worried? Are scientists worried that the second wave will be deadlier to younger people? Do you think that's part of it? Is that something they're considering? Because obviously they've talked about the virus can mutate. Are they feeling, or do they know something that we don't know, that actually this virus could mutate and be deadlier to younger people, and that's why they're trying so hard to contain it now?
Maybe. I don't know.
It's impossible to speculate.
We're getting into stuff that is outside of our realm of expertise for sure. We're a bunch of musicians sitting in a shed and no, I do. Yeah. I think. Oh God, I had a thought and it's left me alone.
I think, therefore I am.
Cogito ergo sum. Well, I mean, it could. I guess. Yeah. I'd like to point out that I have been roundly avoiding all forms of media and news for the last 5 months or so. So I'm probably even less.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, my phone has been switched off and thrown in the corner of my bedroom, and I've been in a tree.
Literally.
Literally climbed up a tree and stayed there. So I don't know about any of the speculation or much of it. Of everything I've heard has been secondhand. But on the subject of the risk being that the second wave is more deadly and kills younger people. I'm just going to say the same thing again. It's a risk.
It's a risk.
It's a risk.
Yeah.
So is crossing the road.
Yeah.
So is walking around without any shoes on, but I'm not going to stop doing that.
Yeah. So do you think that's how it ends then? Do you think it ends with us just going, right, let's just get on with it? Or do you think it ends with vaccine?
I think it ends with either a vaccine or it just becomes a weaker illness. Like, it doesn't kill. Yeah. Like, it may get worse before it gets to that point, though. You know what I mean? Like, it might have this similar second wave or something, but I don't know. I
think either of those things. Yeah. To be honest, I think maybe a bit of both.
Yeah.
There is going to come a point where, I mean, people are doing it already. Right. So, Scott, you're not back at work.
No.
Billy,
I am back.
You
at
are,
work.
but do you work in the public?
Yeah. So I work in an office.
Okay.
But my company I work for has been brilliant about it. They basically, even though the government's saying everyone should go back to the office now, they're not particularly saying that, but they're saying that employers can force employees back to the office. But my employer is basically saying we can blend it. We can work from home as much or as little as we want to.
Sure.
Which is great. So
that does sound nice. Also, working from home, wicked.
Yeah.
So. Well, I work in retail, and I work facing customers and interacting with customers. I actually spend most of my time doing measurements and fittings for walking boots, which is obviously quite a hands-on thing.
Yeah.
And on the subject of people just shrugging and getting on with it, I think it's happening.
Oh, yeah.
My interactions with people on a day-to-day basis, we have all these rules that we have to follow at work, and they make my job very difficult because I have to get hands-on, and if I'm going to do it properly. So I've just been saying to people, please don't tell my boss. I hope he'll probably never listen to this. I've just been saying to people, look, these are my rules that I'm supposed to follow. They're going to make it very difficult for me to do my job, but if it would make you more comfortable, I'm more than happy to follow them.
Yeah.
If, on the other hand, you're not worried and you don't mind and you would rather I just did a stellar job of your boot fit and we got on with things normally, if that's what you'd prefer, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And most people are going, mate, just get on with it.
Yeah.
I don't care. I've
Yeah.
had enough.
Yeah.
Just touch me. Just do the things that you would normally do because I just need normal. And I do. I think that it's already happening.
Yeah. There's a crave for normal, definitely.
Yeah, big old cravings.
Yeah. But I think, on the topic of gigging again, I think there's...
we haven't
yeah.
touched that much, have we? Gigging.
But
Go.
but I'm just thinking, I know someone, a local singer-songwriter, and every time I go on Facebook or, one of the social medias, I see he's got another backyard gig.
Oh, yeah, I know you.
Yeah. And I'm just like, how does he know this many people with lovely big backyards who want him to play music? Because all the other musicians I see, there's been the odd person here and there who's gigged, but most of my friends are pro musicians, and very few of them are gigging yet. And he's one of the ones who's like doing 2 or 3 a week again now, and I just like, how are you doing it?
I think it is. He's a very resourceful bloke.
Yeah.
Bass player.
No.
Oh, is it not? Okay. All right.
No. And so I'm just thinking, is this before, if you wanted to get a gig, you need to like email a music venue, or a promoter.
Well, maybe now you have to ask your mate.
And now you have to ask your mate if you can play in their back garden. And so I put up a thing on Facebook the other day saying, hey, does anyone want to book me? And I had a few people come back going, oh, I guess you could play in my back garden, but it should be me and my husband. So it was like, okay.
But if you could find someone that had the kind of back garden, I mean, I think this is probably a great opportunity to make things a little more grassroots and a little more personal.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it would be ideal to go on like this forever, but maybe it would be nice for a little while just to organise our own little things in different places and just try and get just a little bit back to basics.
It is something that one of my bands, Brave Rival, want to do. We want to start putting out there to our fans that who wants to do a garden Brave Rival gig, like it would probably be acoustic Brave Rival, and basically they would pay us to do a gig in their garden and invite their family, friends or neighbours over to come watch, and maybe charge tickets to make back the money they're paying us. But that would be the general idea of it, but we haven't put that out there yet to see if anyone wants to buy it. So
I'm kind of like, gigging obviously started, kind of these backyard gigs started coming in sort of around my birthday, 4th of July, that sort of time when pubs opened again. I'm kind of annoyed that it's taken this long to get here, because if we'd been allowed to do these backyard gigs throughout the lockdown, throughout coronavirus, then by now, that there would have been like a circuit, a rhythm to it. There would have been more establishment, because we're right in the middle of summer and I'm craving gigs, but there's no real organisational network, not like with music generally, where you know who to contact and what. It is just a case of, who do I know that's got a good garden, but I feel like, they could have, if it happened a few months earlier, it actually could have been quite a cool summer where there's like a whole little like back garden circuit in a parallel universe. But I'm sure that happened.
Yeah, I mean with that backyard circuit, it would have taken either a rich person to keep paying every week for a new act, or a resourceful enough person to charge their neighbours who want to pay for that entertainment as well. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think you could do it where they get a very small fee for playing, but you pass a hat round during the night. And often when I've done nights like that where I get like a smaller fee, but they pass the hat round, I often get like 3, maybe 4 times as much from the hat as I do the actual fee.
That's a good idea.
So,
that's a thought.
Yeah, so,
that is definitely a thought.
So I do like the grassroots idea, but I feel like it's come too late, because we're going into August, and yes, it's warm at the moment, but then we've got September, and then we start getting into autumn and it gets colder. So doing these outside gigs, by the time we've got the rhythm for it, and by the time bands start actually doing it and turning it into start being industrious with it, it's going to kind of be over. It's just going to be too cold to play outside.
Or maybe we all just toughen up a little bit
Get that Viking spirit.
That's it.
But no. In seriousness, like maybe it does force us just to go sod it. If the only way that we can play is outside, we're just going to get used to standing outside and being a little bit chilly.
Yeah.
Or we're just going to boogie until we warm up.
That's it.
Maybe that's it.
But I feel like there would be people who are like, it's cold. I don't want to be out. I don't want to be outside right now because I could get a cold or I could catch something. It could lead to coronavirus, maybe.
I put forward that that's probably nonsense.
Probably.
You
don't get ill from being outdoors.
Well, you could get a bad cold, and you know.
No.
Cold's transmitted by another person.
The reason that you get ill in the winter is because you spend more time indoors. It's not because it's cold outside.
Okay.
You know what?
Fair enough.
You guys have just made me have a thought though. Like, I actually can't remember the last time I had a cold.
Me neither.
Like, since maybe I had one at the beginning of the year. I can't remember. But like, obviously because of lockdown, like not interacting with many people, so. Haven't been many germs flying around with colds and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the last time I felt ill was years ago.
Yeah, but honestly. The thing with like the cold, it's like
well done, you.
Thanks.
On average, you're meant to get like what 2 or 3 colds a year, aren't you? Like on
Is
average.
That the average?
That's the average, I think, for the average person.
Huh.
But I don't know. Yeah, I literally haven't had a cold for ages.
Yeah, I haven't had. At Christmas, I got a really bad cold. That was not fun. But yeah, there you go. So we've really got into it today, I feel. You know, we've really dug into this topic of coronavirus and gigging, and you know, we talked a bit more about, you know, just coronavirus in general, which I think is important. I think it's important for people listening because
very topical.
Yeah, it's definitely on our minds.
It's definitely on everyone's minds right now, and so I think hearing other people's thoughts about it, it's good to discuss this stuff, especially as, you know, it can, you know, in some circles be seen as a bit taboo. So
no, say what you think.
Say what you think. So as we say, you know, backyard gigs are happening again in pubs and in people's back gardens. And if you know someone with a back garden, or you know a pub that's doing live music and has an outdoor space, then go for it. But my personal opinions is it's come a bit too late. I feel that, you know, we could have put some more infrastructure in earlier. Obviously, lockdown measures, you know, eased later on, so that probably couldn't have happened. But in my ideal world, you know, there would have been this little backyard, little scene going on, which would have been really cool. We've been the Weekend Rockstars. If there's anything on this topic that we have not covered today, then you can leave a question down in the comments, or you can send your question to our email, which is scottfreemanmusic@gmail.com. You can send us your question there, and we will endeavour to answer it at the beginning of the podcast next week. This has been really fun, guys. I've really enjoyed this.
Really fun.
I've been Scott Freeman. With me is Billy Deadman and our very special first guest on the podcast, Tom Ridler.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Tom.
Thank you so much for coming,
Thanks for having me.
It's been really great. Stay awesome, guys. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Peace.